Hello and welcome to SGN Tech Forum. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is SSH remote port forwarding. We'll talk about how and when to use port forwarding and why demystify, because we are going to take a deep dive. I'm going to show you the configuration, the working setup, and then we will see the tunnel traffic, encrypted traffic via Wireshark. So get excited. All right. So the first thing is, let's see what we have in agenda. We are going to discuss SSH remote forwarding, what it is, how does remote forwarding work, benefit of remote forwarding, when to use it, certain limitation, and finally we will go into demo and be excited for the demo, because in demo I'm going to show you the Wireshark packet capture. So that's really cool. At least I hope so. So what is SSH remote forwarding? SSH remote port forwarding is a method of securely accessing a computer over a network by redirecting traffic from one port to another. So here the assumption is you have SSH session between two hosts, which is an SSH session by default is secure. What you can do, you can redirect any other kind of traffic over this SSH existing SSH tunnel. It is a type of tunneling. That's why it is called a tunneling that allow user to securely access resources located on a remote machine, such as web server or database server, from local machine. So you have certain application running on a remote machine which you want to access via local machine, but you don't have any way to connect to that remote application other than SSH. So all you have is a SSH connectivity between your local machine and a remote machine, but you want to access certain application on remote machine. Can you do how you can access that? That you can do that using SSH remote port forwarding. In this method, again, as I explained, you have a remote machine, you have a local machine. A local machine is called client, and the remote machine is called host. Okay, so I hope that is clear. How does it work? Uh, Remote port forwarding work by setting up a secure tunnel by client and host machine. So your local machine and a remote machine. Tunnel is established by SSH protocol. By default, SSH encrypt all the data sent between two machines, and it supports authentication and other things, right? Client machine forward the traffic from remote port to local port on a local connection. And all these things, if it is not very clear to you right now, it will become clear when I walk you through the complete demo. So stay tuned for that. Benefit, obviously, there is a use case. So I don't have any other mean to connect to my application which is running on remote machine other than SSH. So that's why we rely on remote port forwarding in that case. Is there any drawback to do that? Of course, because SSH never mean to tunnel protocols, right? It is not uh, built for that purpose, and you will immediately see an impact when you start using certain application like a video and other things. So you will see there is a lot of lag, slowness, and etc. Because SSH essentially is a TCP, right? And media and other things, which is a UDP friendly protocol, they may not be suitable for SSH type of connection. Now, good. We are at our configuration and demo stage. So this is the how our testbed look like. We have two VMs, two cloud VMs. One is running on AWS, another is running on Oracle, and they do have SSH connectivity between them. In my previous video, I have shown you how to use a single key in two different cloud so that two machines can talk to each other. So if you're interested, the link is in description. Go watch that video. Coming back to this setup, AWS VM work as a, a client where I'm listening on port 8080. So I am listening on port 8080. I'm accepting connection on port 8080, and I have a SSH tunnel already created, established between AWS and Oracle. Now, Oracle VM is the actual server where we have the application running. And here I'm running a simple Nginx Nginx service, and I have changed the port from default 80 to TCP port 3000, and I'll show you that in demo. So that's how the setup look like. By default, no one can access Oracle VM on port 3000. The end goal is we want AWS developers to talk to Nginx port 3000, but they have no other connectivity other than SSH. So let's see how to do that. Okay. For that, before we go into the actual host, let's look at the from cloud perspective, what security groups are allowed, right? So let's go to the application VM first, which is on Oracle, and it has an public IP address. It is in my web VM subnet. Let's look what things are allowed here. I have a security group allowed, and here what I want to show you is I don't have a TCP port 3000 available here, right? So no one can access the Nginx application on port 3000. All I have is port 22 and few others, but you can ignore that safely. Now let's go to AWS, which act as a client. Here, this is my VM, and let's go to the security group. Within security group, I want you to take a look at the inbound rule. As you can see, I do not have any 3000 TCP port. Okay, all I have is port 8080, which I'm listening on, and 22, and that's how I'm making connection between AWS and Oracle. I hope this is clear so far. So now let's go and SSH to the remote host itself. First, we are going to log into AWS using my key, and same thing we will do for Oracle. Let's check the application. Okay, as you can see, it is listening on port 3000, and it has a SSH connection to the end host. All right, I'm going to just show you the application. This is not really related to this demo, but I want to just take you to take a look that Nginx by default listen on port 80. I just went ahead and changed that port to 3000. This I want to show you here. Okay, server listen on by default. You can see it is listening on port 80 for IPv6. That was the case for IPv4. I went ahead and changed this to 3000. All right. Now let me see if I can from Oracle, uh, from AWS. Let's try to connect using port 3000. Okay. So for that, what I need the IP address of my Oracle VM, and show me my public IP address. It is somewhere here. Yep, sorry, sitting. All right, let's go. And we are on AWS VM right now. We're going to say curl IP address colon 3000. And you should see that it will fail because on Oracle side, port 3000 is not exposed. Okay, so it will fail. For remote port forwarding to work, we need to make certain changes in SSH deconfig, and I'm going to show you real quick what are those changes you need to make. So go to etc SSH, and if you do ls-l, you will see that we have SSH deconfig. Let's read this. Okay, have to be sudo. Within this, what you have to do, you have to allow the gateway port to yes. And if you do vi, it's easy to find, but we are just doing cat. So let me figure out that command for you. Yes. You can see gateway port is set to yes, because otherwise anyone can come and try to do a remote port forwarding on your remote machine. So there has to be certain arrangement between two machines, uh, and that's what goes into SSHD config. You need to come and uncomment this line: gateway port yes, TCP forwarding yes. All right, let's go back to AWS. You can see it's hanging. That means most probably it will time out. Let's come out of this. And now what we want to do, we want to initiate a remote port forwarding from AWS to OPC so that we can access this thing, right? So I'm gonna come here and let me find that command. Before we go to the command, what I didn't show you, hang on. What I didn't show you is the gist, right? If you want to replicate the same setup, how you can follow the commands and the steps what we did. So this is the public facing gist, which is the link is available again in description of this video. And this is only talking about the literature is the pretty much same what you saw in the presentation slide. We are talking a little bit more about the individual steps. So let's recap that and then I'll go to the demo. So sorry, I jumped ahead of myself, but let's fix that. So here is our test bed for demo purposes. Two VM having SSH connection between them. No other ports are allowed between these two hosts. The Oracle VM is running NGINX service, as you can see, non-standard port 3000. AWS VM listen to the port 8080 for our test. AWS VM request localhost. So we are going to say on AWS VM, if you say localhost 8080, that will be remotely tunnel to OPC on port 3000. And you should see the Oracle NGINX page on your AWS VM. So that is the end goal. That means AWS developers, users can now access Oracle application. How to set up remote forwarding? To set up remote forwarding on Linux, you can do on any other Unix Linux variant, but these commands are applicable for Linux 8. What do you have to do? You have to connect to the remote host using SSH-R. This is the flag for remote port forwarding. You are requesting remote port forwarding, and this is the application port. So my AWS is listening on 8080, and I'm asking it to transfer this on or translate this onto remote server on localhost 80. In our case, you will see this is not 80, but this is 3000. In this example, remote port 8080 is being forwarded to local port 3000 on remote host. So this local remote can create certain confusion, but I hope you got the idea. Enter the password, and we are not using password, we are using only SSH keys, which is fine. And now the final validation from Wireshark capture. We will look at Wireshark capture once we confirm that remote port forwarding is working. So let's go back to our OPC server. And from here, what I want to do, I want to connect to my AWS VM, all right? So that's 263, basically 263 and 268, they both are same, okay? So let me say 263. And by doing that, you can see I am now from OPC, I made a connection to AWS, and within AWS, I have already requested remote port 8080. Now let's go ahead and say, I'm just adding some flag with curl. Hopefully that should give us some more detail. And this time around, we're going to say, okay, we don't have to mention the port again. Sorry about that. Either you can say localhost 8080, or you can say 127 dot 0 dot 1 8080. Voila. As you can see, the response earlier from AWS, this response was not available, as I have shown few minutes ago. Now, as soon as you do curl, the request is going on, and the response what you receive is, you can see, nginx http server on Oracle Linux. So there is no way I can run this on my AWS VM. So you have to trust me that it's coming from Oracle while I initiated this command, curl command on AWS, right? So that proves that we can access Oracle application from AWS even though we don't have port 3000 allowed between them. Fine. Now let's go and look at the packet capture. So to save some time, what I did, I already captured the packet, and I'm filtering that with my EC2 IP address or AWS VM IP address to show you how regular SSH traffic looks like, how tunnel SSH traffic look like. So first time, this is the first screenshot, validation from Wireshark capture, regular SSH transaction without remote port forwarding. That means I'm on AWS VM. I am accessing Oracle via SSH. We are doing no tunneling. I just do SSH, run some commands like uptime, ls, and all those things. And this is how it looks like, right? So first, we are doing a three-way TCP three-way handshake, SYN, SYNAC, ACK. From then onwards, we have the SSH protocol kick in, and it negotiate the cipher as per OpenSSL 2.0. So you can see client server exchange the cipher suite information, agree on a key exchange initiate, and once they both are, this parameter is satisfied, we have a proper SSH connection between them. And from now onwards, whatever command I'm typing, that I'm getting an acknowledgement back, and the communication goes on, right, between client and server. Finally, when I hit exit, TCP connection is taken down. FINAC, ACK, four-step closing connection. Again, if you want to learn about TCP in detail in Wireshark, I have a couple of videos available on my channel. Go search with TCP. You will find good information. So this is how a typical TCP transaction and SSH protocol looks like. All right. Now we are going to validate with remote port forwarding what is happening, right? So with remote port forwarding, I have appended two type of capture. The first is from AWS, where you saw me putting HTTPS 127.0.0 colon 8080, which is the local port I'm listening on, right? And since I'm initiating this connection from AWS VM itself, that's why I'm capturing the loopback interface, right? Because it's not coming from outside world, it's coming, it's on the device itself or VM itself. So capture on loopback. As you can see, same thing, TCP handshake, three-way, SYN, and then you start getting the TCP acknowledgement, right? Not much here. The uh, thing what you can note is on application server itself, which is Oracle VM. In Oracle VM or on Oracle VM, we are capturing the traffic on physical interface. Now again, you will find some similarities, three-way handshake, SSH key exchange. From there onwards, you will see a lot of encrypted packet, malform packet started going on, right? So this is the packet, or this is the malform packet, is give you an indication that these are tunneled protocol, because there is no way uh, Wireshark can look into those protocol field and tell you what is inside that, because everything is encrypted. So it take that protocol request, encrypt that, and send it over SSH tunnel, and hence um, Wireshark is thinking it's a malform packet, encrypted packet. Okay, so lot of encrypted packet, malform packet, and give you indication that this is your tunneling, this is the tunnel traffic. And finally, when I exit again, four-way tier of the SSH tunnel. So I hope I made this complex topic clear to you by this extensive demo. Um, if you want to try it on your own or you have something similar requirement, I encourage you to read through this. Just follow the steps, and if you need any help or you run into issues or you have any observation like I'm missing something obvious, feel free to write that in comment. Reach out to me on uh, Twitter. On You can comment me, you can email me, and thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.